You know that exact feeling, right? Like you're lying in bed at night and you are absolutely convinced that tomorrow is the day everything changes. You're gonna, I don't know, wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, finally launch that project.
Right, yeah, the classic midnight burst of ambition.
Exactly. But then the alarm goes off and that intense drive you felt just 8 hours ago is just completely gone. So, welcome to your custom deep dive. Today we have an excerpt from a really fascinating book, The Architect of Achievement: Mastering Discipline Over Motivation by the Silent Mind. Okay, let's unpack this, because our modern obsession with needing to feel inspired before we do anything is actually killing our dreams.
It really is a biological trap. We treat motivation like it's this primary fuel source, but neurologically, it's just a temporary dopamine spike. It is designed by evolution to initiate action, not to sustain it at all.
Wait, so it's basically just a starter motor? Because we are always told to, find our passion and let that fire drive us. If motivation is just a temporary chemical spike, aren't we basically waiting for a perfectly sunny day just to start laying the bricks of our house?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. And what's fascinating here is that the people we actually admire most, like world-class athletes or top entrepreneurs, they completely bypass that starter motor.
Oh, really? They just ignore it?
Pretty much, yeah. They don't wait for a dopamine hit to begin working. They operate on a completely different system that just ignores their immediate emotional state.
Right, because if you wait for the perfect internal conditions, you just never start. So if we drop that expectation of feeling motivated, what does that operating system actually look like in practice?
Well, it looks like mechanics rather than emotions. Think of a farmer. A farmer doesn't sit around evaluating their emotional readiness before planting crops, The season dictates the action, completely independent of their fatigue or enthusiasm.
Oh, wow, right. The seasons literally do not care about the farmer's feelings.
Exactly. And it is the same psychological framework the Stoics used. Take Marcus Aurelius, for instance. He didn't run the Roman Empire because he woke up feeling energized.
Yeah, I'm sure he had days he wanted to hit snooze.
Oh, absolutely. But he recognized that his responsibilities existed in an objective reality, entirely separate from his brain's desire to just stay comfortable in bed.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the very beginning of a journey? Because stepping into the gym on day one, or staring at a completely blank screen, it requires a massive amount of cognitive load. The friction is incredibly high.
Oh, it is extremely high.
Yeah.
Which is why discipline is so vital initially. It forces you through that upfront resistance. But the underlying mechanism here is momentum. You are actively rewiring your brain.
Rewiring it how, exactly? Like what's happening physically?
Well, the first workout requires intense conscious effort, right? But by the 100th workout, you've shifted that behavior into the basal ganglia of your brain. It becomes automated. It literally shifts from something you do to something you are.
Here's where it gets really interesting, actually. We assume confidence is a prerequisite for that kind of action. Like, we think we need to feel brave or capable before we step into the arena. But it's the exact opposite, isn't it?
Completely backward. Action generates confidence, not the other way around. Confidence is essentially just a psychological database of kept promises to yourself.
A database of kept promises. I love that phrasing.
Right. Every time you push through resistance, you provide your brain with undeniable physical evidence that you can rely on yourself. Without that evidence, confidence is honestly just delusion.
Which means the real threat to building that database isn't some massive catastrophic failure. It is the subtle biological drive for comfort. It's not a brick wall blocking your path. It's more like a cozy blanket that quietly suffocates your unrealized potential.
That is a perfect analogy. And this raises an important question about how we fundamentally misinterpret comfort. We treat it as a reward, but it is often an evolutionary trap. It disguises itself as permission to rest just for today.
But those individual days easily compound into lost decades.
Exactly. We view discipline as a restriction or a punishment, when in reality, discipline is the only tool that actually frees you from being a slave to your own fluctuating neurochemistry.
It's overriding a flawed evolutionary default. So, to summarize the core rule here, discipline is simply choosing what you want most over what your brain wants now. Because life rewards action, not intention.
Spot on. The universe only responds to physical output. It doesn't care about your internal intentions or your unexpressed potential.
It only respects the evidence. Which leaves you with something to really think about as we wrap up this deep dive. If your future self will only care about the indisputable evidence of your actions, what piece of evidence are you going to leave today, right now, when nobody is watching?